guess that is a word. Thank you. Of course, we all come to these conferences, and the first thing that we tell you is our research is important. And we hear that so many times, we start saying, okay, well, it's important to you, but why is it important to me? I'm here today to talk about understanding the experiences of what it's like to be a female American convert to Islam since September 11th. And that has importance to the converts, but that also has importance to us, because as we're becoming a much more global society, we are seeing an increase in conversion rates, and that is leading to conflict. I'm going to tell you why, give you some background information, and then share some of my research findings with you today. Right now, Muslims constitute approximately 0.6% of the U.S. adult population. When you project that out, it comes out to approximately 1.4 million Muslims that are 18 years of age or older that are currently living in the U.S. Some people are saying right now that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. It has been estimated that by the year 2025, there will be approximately 30% of the world's population practicing Islam. Just as a little side note, it's not up there. I've been recognizing a trend that the conversion rates in the U.S. are increasing exponentially since September 11th. And those conversion rates are affecting predominantly African American men and white women. I can't really figure out why that's going on, so don't ask me that later, because I just don't know. As we're seeing an increase in the conversion rates, we're also seeing an increase in hate crimes in the U.S. According to a 2007 Pew Research study, approximately 48% of female American Muslims never wear hijab. That's the headscarf. And approximately 22% state that they choose to not wear their hijab, or maybe they do wear their hijab, but they have fear that that will identify them as being Muslim and will set them up to be targets of hate, discrimination, and hate crimes. So, a little literature review. Basically, the experience of discrimination based on gender, race, ethnicity, or other marginalized religious groups have all been explored previously. Yet, there's a dearth of research into the lived experiences of American women who have converted to Islam since September 11th. In order to conduct a thorough literature review on the experience of having lived with multiple minority master statuses, that of being a female, a Muslim, and a religious convert, a literature review had to be conducted focusing on individual master statuses first. And again, because this is a 15-minute presentation, I could go all day about this topic. I've got the entire literature review out here. But if you're interested in seeing some of that, you could be in touch with me after, and we can get that to you. Okay, so my paper was a phenomenology. Beautiful girl in the center is me photoshopped. In transcendental phenomenology, which was the method that I used, each experience is considered in its singularity and in and for itself. As such, we have to be aware of our own history, and we have to bracket these concerns, basically to shut out any preconceived bias and judgment. We set aside the voices, sounds, and silences that so readily tell us what something is. As such, I had to recognize my own experiences so that I wouldn't approach my research with bias. For a complete history of my bracketing, we have my book. In 2010, in an attempt to understand what the Muslim experience was like, I altered my physical appearance by dressing in hijab for 1 month. During this process, I was subjected to beatings and insults, was treated unfairly by friends and general public, felt a shift in my identity, and was told repeatedly that I was anti-American, and experienced generalized identity fracture. And we'll talk about that a little later. This was all obviously documented in my book, titled Exploring Prejudice, One Woman's Journey Beneath the Veil, and it was published last December. While these experiences experiences had to be set aside to focus on the experiences really during this research. I also had to be aware of all of the experiences at the same time. So I wound up in sort of a double conundrum, or it was an interesting situation where I had to be aware of what I did and pay attention to it so that I wouldn't pay attention to it, so then I could be aware of it and pay attention to it again, if you could follow that. So the purpose of my research was to describe and understand the experiences of what it means to be a female American convert to Islam in post-9/11 America. What does that mean? The American female convert to Islam in this paper was defined as a female who was raised and who is currently living in the U.S. who practiced any religion other than Islam, but who was converted to Islam. The term post-9/11 America seems fairly straightforward, but it actually refers to not only the physical location of the U.S., but also the cultural climate and the attitudes that have taken hold since the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Ultimately, female American participants were over the age of 18. They were born in the United States. They practiced religions other than Islam prior to converting to Islam, and they converted after 9/11. So what did we find out? From transcribed interviews, we had 24 significant statements that were identified. These were clustered into 4 themes, which were based on their formulated meanings. I'm going to leave this slide up for a little while because we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about the phenomenological process. The 4 themes, the first theme was renegotiation or redefinition of identity. In this theme, participants found themselves reconciling aspects of their new religious identities with their previously existing identities. Participants shared the experiences of struggling with the renegotiation of these identities. Theme number 2 was serving as defenders of Islam. This term, defenders of Islam, is actually a term that I borrowed from a dissertation that I read about men who converted to Islam. So it's not my own term. I can't take credit for that. In this theme, participants were feeling as if they had to defend their religion against assault, and that they had to take on the task of educating others about their misconceptions about the faith. Participants shared similar experiences of having their faith be blamed during non-faith-based arguments with friends and family. Theme number 3 was the impact on mental health. In this theme, basically when explaining the struggles that they have faced after their conversion to Islam, participants indicated a significant impact to their mental health. One participant explained that arguing with family had contributed to depression. Another participant explained how isolation from the loss of friends and family had led to suicidal ideation. While participants experienced the impact on their mental health differently, they shared experiences of feeling sadness over the way that they were treated and anxiety over the way that Muslims are treated in general. Theme number 4 was serving as targets for discrimination. And this was, again, a recurring theme for participants, but more so when they wore hijab. They found themselves as targets of discrimination, whether it be from family, friends, colleagues, the general public, or the media. Participants explained that they had been targets of verbal assaults by strangers, and how they were being subjects of profiling. Participants intimated that they believed the media perpetuates stereotypes and assists in targeting them for discriminatory practices. So what does that mean? And how do we then get here? And how does that fit into phenomenology? We have to take into account the structural description, which is basically what's the context. Participants wound up sharing similar experiences, but the contexts were very different. One participant converted and found a social network that was supportive of her, and even married a Muslim colleague, which strengthened her support system. Certain family members are supportive while other family members are antagonistic, but she can rely easily on her support system to cope. Currently, she's forthcoming about her religion and feels comfortable showing visible representations of her religious identity, such as wearing hijab. Now, there is a postscript, so if you can remind me at the end if I don't get to it, that'd be great. Another participant basically converted to Islam as a college student. She became the only Muslim in her immediate community. She faced rejection by her friends and family, and without a strong support system, she became isolated. She experienced extreme discrimination Participants expressed feeling a passion for Islam, and each developed a stronger moral compass since converting. This development of the new moral compass caused them to redefine their existing identities, incorporating their new religious identities as Muslims. Participants experienced difficulty with others as they reconciled their identity. Participants indicated that their experiences with redefining and renegotiating their identities, combined with discrimination and general attitude towards Muslims, had a negative impact on their mental health, but the extent of this, again, was based on the level of familial and community support they were receiving. This coping mechanism was also very based on the support available to them. Participants experienced situations where they had to defend their religious practices against misinformation and misconception, and they both felt that their choice to follow Islam was used in unrelated arguments to antagonize them. Participants also indicated that they had been targeted within their families, the workplace, in general public, or by the media for their identification as Muslims. So, in conclusion, what's next? This research was essentially a first step in bringing understanding to the experience of female American converts to Islam since September 11th. Yet, more research really is needed in both understanding their experiences as well as developing a theory of coping strategies for dealing with this identity fracture. Gustavus indicates that the fundamental textural structural synthesis represents the essence at a particular